Life is a mass of desires. When desires are not satisfied, there is pain. When desires are satisfied, there is boredom. Life is like a pendulum, swinging between pain and boredom. It is impossible to have inner peace without a certain degree of loneliness. Genius is not controlled by will, but only faces the appreciation of beauty. The joy given by all beauty and the comfort provided by art make him completely forget the troubles of life. Genius delights in solitude, and a man's enthusiasm for society is exactly the same as his intellectual poverty and vulgarity. Frustration can increase experience, and experience can enrich wisdom. The worthless things are always increasing. Many things that at first seem important to us gradually become worthless due to frequent repetition. A person's face says more and more interesting things than a person's mouth, because the mouth only tells people's thoughts, while the face tells the essence of thoughts. Only when you know the end of the book can you understand the beginning of the book. The clearer a person's understanding, and the greater his wisdom, the more suffering he will have. As a genius, he will have the most suffering. Time is kind to those who use it wisely. To measure a person's happiness, we should not look at how many happy things he has, but whether he is worried about small things. Only happy people will worry about trivial things. Those who are experiencing great catastrophes have no time to worry about such small things. Therefore, after losing happiness, people will find that they once existed. Time is infinite, and human life is limited. In order to use limited time to compete with infinite time, people adopt the method of reproduction to extend their lifetime. This is the human instinct to reproduce. People inflict pain on their fellow humans for no other reason than out of spite. The first 40 years of life benefit from textbooks, and the next 30 years are spent annotating the contents of textbooks. A common mistake people make is to trade health for other things. There is the following difference between vanity and pride. Pride is the conviction of one's own superior worth in some particular respect, while vanity is the desire to inspire this conviction in others, and usually the secret wish to have this conviction oneself. Pride is an internal activity, a direct knowledge of oneself. Vanity is the wish to gain this knowledge indirectly. Therefore, conceited people are often talkative, or else silent and proud. All love passions, no matter how elegant and otherworldly they appear, are only rooted in sexual desire. This powerful driving force is second only to the love of one's own life. Even the most insignificant today has the advantage of reality compared with the most insignificant yesterday. The world is steeped in sin. Savages devour each other. Civilized people deceive each other. This is what is called the way of the world. A wise person knows how to keep a certain distance from the fire when keeping warm, and will not get too close to the fire like a fool. After the latter burns himself, he plunges into the cold loneliness and complains loudly about the burning flames. A spring will lose its elasticity if it is oppressed by external objects for a long time. The same is true for our spirit. If it is often pressured by other people's thoughts, it will also lose its elasticity. Desire is the source of human suffering because desire can never be satisfied. The farther we are from truth, the closer we will be to desire. Every rose in the world has thorns. If you abandon it because you are afraid of pricking your hands, then you will never get the fragrance of roses. As long as conditions permit and the opportunity is ripe, everyone wants to do evil. Money is abstract happiness. The things that people can finally truly understand and appreciate are only things that are essentially the same as themselves. Marriage means equal sharing of personal rights and obligations. If ignorance is accompanied by wealthy businessmen, it will further reduce the person's worth. Whoever loses hope loses fear. This is the meaning of the word. Take a risk. Friendship is like the legendary sea monster. Everyone vividly describes it, but it still needs to be confirmed. It may be harder to have a friend who is closer than a brother, as the Bible says, than to catch a glimpse of Nessie. Geniuses can see into the world in front of them and discover the world on the other side. Fatigue, like pain, is located in the brain. Muscles that are not connected to the brain, such as the heart, will never fatigue. One of the most special weaknesses of human nature is that we care about how others see us. Humility is only a kind of honesty for people with little talent, and a kind of hypocrisy for people with great talent. Everyone is imprisoned in their own consciousness. Where there is an outpouring of emotion out of pain, it attracts nihilistic people. Politeness is a counterfeit coin, and the reluctance to spend it shows the poverty of intelligence. A person can only be himself when he is alone. Anyone who does not love to be alone does not love freedom, because a person is truly free only when he is alone. A person's ability to avoid, tolerate, or enjoy solitude is in direct proportion to his or her own value. For when alone, a wretch feels all his wretchedness, and a man of rich thoughts only feels his rich thoughts. Sleep is alone from death. The more and longer you sleep, the longer the repayment period will be. Life is a loan from death, and sleep is just the payment of interest. The more deficient he is in his heart, the more he hopes to be seen as a lucky person in the eyes of others. Life is like a pendulum, swinging between pain and fatigue. Why does the road ahead of us always seem so long when we are young? Because we have to find space to fill our infinite hopes. The cause of social interaction lies in the monotony and emptiness of people's lives. Social needs drive them together, but their many disgusting qualities drive them apart. Finally, they found the appropriate distance that they could tolerate each other. That was politeness. If we suspect a person of lying, we should pretend to believe him, because he will become more and more brave and confident, lie more boldly, and eventually unmask himself. Wisdom that is only theory without being put into practice is like a double-petaled rose. Although it has bright colors and rich fragrance, it will wither without seeds. Style is the appearance of the soul. Fundamentally speaking, only our independent thoughts have true truth and life, because they are the only things we have repeatedly comprehended. Other people's thoughts are like leftovers from someone else's dinner table, like clothes left behind by a stranger. Our lifestyle is like an oil painting. If you look at it from close up, you cannot see why. To appreciate its beauty, you have to stand a little further away. Small people often take pride in the shortcomings or mistakes of great people. It is generally seen that happiness is often not the happiness we hope for, and pain far exceeds the pain we expected. The two things people have to do in life are to take precautions before they happen, and to be open-minded. The former is to prevent him from suffering pain and loss, and the latter is to avoid disputes and conflicts, no matter what we do or do not do. Our first consideration is almost always what others think. As long as we observe carefully we can see that more than half of the worries and fears we experience come from this aspect of worry. It is the basis of our fragile ego, for it is pathologically sensitive and of all vanity, conceit, ostentation and pomp. In order to live in harmony with all men and women, we must allow each one to maintain his or her individuality. The two greatest enemies of human happiness are pain and boredom. When carnal desires are extinguished, the core of life also disappears, and only an empty shell remains. All truth passes through three stages. First, it is ridiculed. Then, it is fiercely opposed. And finally, it is accepted as a matter of course. Our misfortunes are often due to our pursuit of happiness. When we start doing things we like to hold a belief, we will definitely find some kind of happiness in the world. Reputation is the outward expression of conscience. Conscience is the hidden reputation. A truth, learned purely through reading, is as relevant to us as artificial limbs, dentures, wax noses, or even artificial skin grafts. And the truth, gained by independent thinking, is like our natural limbs. They alone belong to us. Human beings are the embodiment of desires and needs through and through. No one lives in the past, and no one lives in the future. The present is the only form that life does possess. The so-called brilliant life is just a prisoner of desire. The essence of man is that he pursues something according to his will. When one pursuit is satisfied, he pursues it again, and so on, forever. Waiting is an excuse for laziness, and an excuse for laziness. Friends say they are sincere, but in fact, enemies are sincere. Therefore, we should take the criticism and accusations of our enemies as bitter medicine to learn more about ourselves. Reading is to let others run horses in our minds. Thinking is to run horses ourselves. The things themselves remain unchanged and become just human feelings. People can do what they want, but they cannot have what they want. Wealth is like sea water. The more you drink, the more thirsty you become. The same is actually true for fame. A healthy beggar is happier than a dying king. If your eyes are focused on the whole, rather than on individual lives, you will behave more like a wise man than a sufferer. Forgetting is more powerful than despair. The so-called brilliant life is just a prisoner of desire. The degree of a man's love for human society is directly proportional to the degree of his mediocrity of thought and poverty of intelligence. We often don't think about what we have, but we dwell on what we don't have. Happiness is nothing but a temporary cessation of desire. We are like lambs in the field, enjoying ourselves under the watchful eye of the butcher. Generally speaking, if we refuse to lend money to a friend, we will not lose that friend. But if we lend him money, we could easily lose him. Similarly, if we maintain a certain level of arrogance, negligence, and magnanimity towards our friends, we will not easily lose them. But if we show too much politeness and thoughtfulness, we may actually lose these friends, because our politeness and attentiveness can make them arrogant and intolerable. Desires always deceive us. By treating their satisfaction as the final goal of human desire, however, once achieved, the wish no longer becomes a wish, and is forgotten and regarded as an antique. From wish to satisfaction to new wish. This is a non-stop process. It is very strange that when people are unlucky, they always clearly recall the happy times that have passed away, but when they are proud, they only retain an indifferent and incomplete memory of the bad times. No one should complain about being mean and nasty, because only being mean is extremely powerful in this world. Getting angry at someone else's behavior is as foolish as getting angry at a rock in our path. For many people, our smartest thought is, I'm not going to change them, I'm going to use them. Women are the creatures that control men. Lions have claws. Elephants have tusks. Men have majestic bodies. And women have the cunning wisdom to control men. We can't be too accommodating and obedient to anyone. People, especially, can't stand others needing them. Once they believe that others need them, the inevitable result is that they will become arrogant and rude. The advantage we can have when interacting with others lies in our not requiring them, not relying on them, and letting them know this. Music is a truly universal language that can be understood everywhere. Happiness is just a dream. Misfortune is real. Only those who have an unwavering belief in their own superior talents and unique worth can call it pride. Anyone who tries to pretend to be proud is not necessarily proud, and he will probably drop the pretense just as quickly as everyone else. What rational people seek is not happiness, but just the absence of pain. The lack of pain is the standard for measuring the happiness of a person's life. Things to be proud of are hard to do. Geniuses are rarely sociable. For what conversation could be so full of wisdom and delight as one's own monologue? A daily life that is not moved by passion is tedious and tasteless. Once there is passion, life is filled with pain. In such a world full of flaws, if you can meet a true friend, cherish it. Sometimes we can't even be true to ourselves. Therefore, there is no need to criticize others. Human nature is complicated and strange. People are like hedgehogs in the cold winter. If they are too close to each other, they will feel stinging. If they are too far away from each other, they will feel cold. People must keep an appropriate distance to survive. Only a person who has a firm and unshakable conviction of his superior talents and unique worth is called proud. People who are rich inside do not need anything external, but need the opposite of tranquility and leisure. Don't be happy with things. Don't be sad with yourself. Regardless of the ups and downs of our fate, we should face it calmly. It is impossible to be happy forever in life, nor to be trapped in misfortune for a long time.